welcome to another video. We've got some projects to do, but while we're doing this project, in the background we're watching the live feed of the SpaceX shuttle returning to Earth from the International Space Station. So you'll be hearing voiceovers from that. So be clear, this is just happening on your tablet, not on Doug's. And right now they're having a problem with an iPad, and Safari can't open a page and they've lost their timeline. Good job, Apple, being good for critical services. Anyway, what are we doing today? Well, because of this whole virus outbreak, my financial manager, and it's a noisy day today, my financial manager, who works as a crossing guard, now has to wear a face mask, which means she can't use her whistle. So they've been allowed to use voice commands and whatnot, but I thought I might try and come up with a synthetic whistle. Now, I've got the basic idea of a battery, a button, and a beeper in a box, but that just gives a solid tone. And of course, if you've ever been in Australia and you've heard a crossing guard, you know the whistles have a ball in them. So I'm thinking I might be able to take a little DigiSpark unit here and try and make a synthetic ball in the whistle, if you will. So that might complicate the issue, and whether or not I can pack it all into this nice convenient little box along with a battery, we'll see what we can do. But anyway, let's get cracking. We'll give you a quick look at all this stuff. Alright, and now they're discussing this launch return. So this is going to be slightly different to normal video. So, okay, we'll be back in a moment. In the middle of test fitting everything, and the SpaceX Crew Dragon's just coming over the west coast of Australia. Unfortunately, we're on the east coast, but I might be getting out to have a look in the sky in a minute. Alright, so I've trimmed that battery clip down so that it actually fits sideways in here. A little bit of distortion, but nothing that won't be the end of the world. That means my battery can fit in the middle, my button and my beeper can sit elsewhere. Now, I'm hoping I can feed 9 volts into a DigiSpark on the regulated input. But I think what I'll be doing, and I've got one up here, I think I'll be doing one without the pin headers attached, going from there. I have these things literally everywhere at the moment. I'm not sure if that's a blown up one, but we'll find out. Necessarily habitable space. Below that is the forward hatch, and then you've got sort of the... So we're in the middle of we're just listening to them list off the dimensions. I'm in the process. I'm dimensioning some stuff myself. So 9.2 meters cubed for our metric friends. That'll give us an idea where we're drilling, and crucially, so that nuts fits inside. Alright, now I need to find myself a drill. Right, time to drill out the panel. Using a step drill here. Hopefully I won't destroy my hands. Where's my finger? Let's move that out of the way a bit. Unclog everything. This one's actually a fun ask a question. Alright, we'll get this hole finished and we'll be back. Our hole drilled, and we've got our button will fit. Will it actually fit in the box without interfering? Just. Nice, I don't need to bend any pins. That would be good. Alright, so let's just test locate everything here for a bit before we go to the beeper side of things. That'll be good, nice and neat. Now, will the beeper fit in that position, or do I need to mount it on the end, perhaps? It'll only just fit there. It might just fit on the end. I think lid mounting is probably preferable. I've got a better idea of where I can mount it from there, so we might do that. We might lid mount this, and that has a fairly big open area, so I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. But I think at this point we might run a quick test and see how loud that beeper is. I had to do a test setup here and listening to the commentary on the SpaceX launch, and they're just explaining that they're going to reuse the shuttle. Let's test our beeper. That's pretty loud. If I put it on a sounding board like this, that's pretty loud, but I'm going to go and get an opinion. So, verdict from the end user is a solid beep is not going to cut the mustard. We're going to have to make it warble. So now I've got to do some thinking. I want full voltage to the beeper, and I'm only going to get a 5-volt pin out of the DigiSpark. So whilst the beeper will run at 5 volts, it's not going to be loud enough. We want the full 9 volts. I think somewhere I've got some opto couplers kicking around. We might be able to make work with this. So we'll see how we go. I took a moment to pull up the SpaceX tracking, and yeah, it's done a full lap since in about the last hour. They're moving pretty quick. We can see if I stick my finger next to this, you can see she's moving pretty well. About a pixel a second here at the moment. So yeah, it's coming in pretty damn quick. And for our details at the moment, where are we? Yeah, it won't be till we get to minus 38 that we're on the same latitude as Australia. So looking at this path, we're probably not going to see it. I'm over on this side of the country, not on that side. So we won't be able to see it with a pair of binos like I'd hoped. But you never know, they might deviate slightly. I hope not, because I really want them to land where they want to be landing, but you know, yeah, still got about, yeah, it's coming down pretty quick. So anyway, all right, let's get back to the build. So I'm going to stop for a status update here and let you know what's been happening off camera. So I have our battery mounted in the middle. I've got our piezo and our button all set up in such a way that they'll fit nicely. There's not a lot of headroom left in the box by the time we're done. Now, I had hoped to drive the piezo or piezo, I can never pronounce that right. I had planned to drive that using an opto coupler from a DigiSpark. Now, it turns out I can't find the $50 box full of opto couplers that I've lost somewhere. I did, however, find thousands of transistors. I also found these little relay cards which would work well to make a nice little haptic feedback, and they run off 5 volts very nicely. Unfortunately, physical limitations mean that's not an option, and it's a little on the power hungry side. So I still have to mount some sort of arming switch in this as well, which is going to be fun. I'm thinking maybe a little guy like that, or I might have something smaller. But again, there might be some interference issues with mounting that in the box. I might have to find a lower profile option. I'm not sure what I've got to do that. So I've decided I might make this cheap and nasty, because this has to be manufactured out of readily available parts that I can buy locally. So I'm going to probably just do a cheap and nasty trick with the transistor. I got woken up early this morning, so I am tired. Alright, let's get the breadboard out and start screwing around. Alright, so I've done a quick little bit of programming, but I have a slight problem. I'm using on this red line here, I've got a 1K resistor pulling the pin to ground, and it still seems to think that the pin is low. Oh, sorry, I'm pulling that to 5 volts high, even though that says that's on the negative line. This little regulator I'm using on the end here actually has the polarity backwards. So that is the 5 volt rail along here on the blue line, and I am pulling that pin high with a 1K resistor to 5 volts. According to my code, that should stop flashing when that happens. If I try and override that by pulling that pin to ground, it still continues to flash. Nothing seems to change the state of that pin, even if I do something silly like going up here and touching that. And directly grounding that pin doesn't work, and this is a problem I keep having on these DigiSparks, and it drives me nuts. I'm sure my code's right. In fact, let's go up and have a look at my code. There's not much of it to get wrong, but I'm sure somebody can spot an issue there. We'll find out. Alright, so I thought I'd try and make things a bit more simple and use a 555 timer. Now I'm feeding this off 5 volts where it calls for 9 volts. That might be the problem. And I've also had to substitute some 6.8k resistors across pin 7 for some 9k's. So that might not be really going to do the job, but I would expect it's close enough to work. This is getting to be a tiring job. I'm trying to find a really low power way to do this. I do have some TLC 555 chips which will run down on 3.3 volts, but I'm running on 9 and I'd have to add a 3.3 volt regulator, which I have. I just don't want to use. And it's just more complication to adding a 555 in. This simple little thing of trying to make that whistle or that beeper pulse proving to be quite a challenge. So yeah, I'm going to do some thinking and I might need to take a break from this one. So I thought I'd go one step simpler and go with a standard flip-flop circuit. Now I have two 2N3904 transistors because I have thousands of them, and I've got a couple of 220 microfarad electrolytic capacitors in here. Problem is they don't flash. So I wonder if I've got these capacitors wrong. Every time I go to touch something, somebody sends me a message. It does get a smidgen frustrating sometimes. Let's flip that capacitor around. Let's make sure those resistors aren't touching. Oh, no, that's in the right slot. I think that's right. I think that capacitor might be in the wrong spot. Let me do a bit more thinking here. Right, well I have the circuit to a point where one light turns on slightly before the other, but it could be these two N3904s are not quite what we need for the circuit. I'm just using what I have laying around. This whole idea is starting to beat me, and my concentration was gone about 2 hours ago. So the filming to this point has taken about 6 hours between interruptions and everything else that's changed, and I'm pretty well worn out. So I'm going to have to just walk away from this for a bit and have a think. I am tempted to take the base unit I've got here and just set it up with just the beeper and everything in the box just to start with as a demo. And we might be able to make it more whistle-like fairly soon. But anyway, I've got to walk away, got to take a break. I think I need to lay down. MSs and brain lesions and all that sort of stuff really do suck the life out of your concentration sometimes. So I'm going to call it quits for a moment. Alright, so in the process of working this problem out, things have changed. Victorian Premier's just announced stage 3 restrictions for regional areas and stage 4 for Melbourne. That means that, at least where we are, our kids not going to school. Most kids won't be going to school, which means crossing guards won't be needed. So this has been a bit of a short-term idea. I'll work on it, but at my leisure. I'm going to have about 6 weeks to figure it out by the sound of things. But it also means this video is over. And Crew Dragon's about 7 hours away from touchdown at this point. So I might even catch a little bit of that on the end of the video whilst I'm editing, if that happens between now and then. It may well do so, because all my videos are going to be pretty well on hold. I've got a couple of things I really need to do in the next 2 or 3 days before these restrictions come in. Namely pouring some concrete, which requires multiple people to help, masked up of course. And so yeah, I'm going to have to abandon everything right now. Sorry guys, but we'll see you in the next one. And I think I'm going to go put the Aussie flag upside down on my pole. Alright, see you later.